Hey guys, I hope you're well and welcome to this video. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked often in these videos is, Alessio, when do you think this recession could end? When could the economy bounce back? And, when could this disaster we're going through right now, when could it possibly end? At the moment in America, for example, I think last time I checked, it was over 30 million unemployed people right now. Before there was 20 million, now I think it's about 30 million unemployed. So things are not looking good in America. Same thing goes in the UK and most parts of Europe as well. So obviously, many folks, I'm sure yourself, are worried right now. And the question people are asking is, we're going into recession. We probably are in recession right now, very likely. And, when could we expect this recession to potentially end? And what could it mean for everybody out there? So I'm going to try and address this by also I'm going to show you this chart in a few minutes. I'll show you this chart in a few moments, what that could mean in the very near future. So before I actually address this question of recession, before we go into the details, let me first of all just mention this. Recently, I was watching Kyle Kalinske, who, by the way, is a very intelligent person. I would suggest, if you haven't seen his show, check out his show. But he was saying something really interesting recently. I want to play for you a very short clip. Listen to this.
One of the most amazing things to watch recently has been now the total disconnection, the total divorce of how your average person is doing, how the economy is doing, and how the stock market is doing. The stock market had its best day or best week on record at the same time that we got the worst jobs report on record. Let me repeat that. The stock market was doing phenomenally well at the exact same time we got the news about jobs in this country being eliminated at a historic pace. We're shedding jobs left and right. I told you guys, the old record was losing like 640 or 680,000 jobs in a week during the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. Now we're talking about every week it's 3 million more. And, guys, it probably undercounts it too. They're saying the official unemployment rate is like 14.7% or thereabouts. And again, at the same time that this is happening, that your average person is being absolutely obliterated, the stock market is soaring, and billionaires are making much more money. Much more money. They never lose. You always lose. So, listen, one of the reasons why this is happening, it's not just normal market forces, but it's the bailout packages. And what the Fed is doing too, the Fed basically let the stock market know, let, the fat cats and the big wigs and the people on Wall Street know, listen, we'll spend wherever the hell we got to spend to make sure that this doesn't go down. So we fully implemented corporate socialism. Remember, we covered the story a while ago. They were pumping $1 trillion a day in liquidity, the Fed was, into the markets. So in other words, we've fully implemented corporate socialism. Socialism for the corporation, socialism for the rich. They can't lose no matter what. And for you, rugged individualism and capitalism. You get crumbs. You got the $1,200 one-time check. But that's it. Then you're on your own. And so you see, even the bill is supposed to, let's help the small businesses. A lot of the aid did not get to the small businesses. About 40% of them could go bankrupt in the next 6 months. There's a total decoupling now. And our transition to corporate socialism is complete. Our transition to corporatism is complete. They can't lose. Privatize the profits, socialize the losses. When times are good, they reap the rewards, and the workers get screwed. When times are bad, the workers have to bail them out. Taxpayers bailed them out. So you get hosed either way. Think about what that money could be used for. Think about how that money could be used to help regular people. And we live in a system where the billionaires can make billions more dollars as everybody else is getting left behind. Guys, 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And that was before the crisis. Imagine what's going on now as billionaires make billions more dollars.
So guys, you heard Kyle say there, I agree with a lot of his points there. I don't agree with everything Kyle says, but I generally agree with what he said there in this video, which is you have these corporate CEOs and these corporate elitists going on these business shows, these financial news shows, right? And they pretend, we're against socialism and we're for capitalism. That's been the lie. That's been the lie they've been telling you for the last, God knows how many decades. That corporations and Wall Street is the supporter of capitalism and against socialism. But as you can see, guys, as you've seen just for yourself the last few weeks, last few months, that has been a total and absolute sham, and it's a lie. What these corporate elitists, what these corporations and Wall Street have done is shown to you what a bunch of liars and hypocrites they are. On the one hand, they're telling you and everybody else, hey, you got a problem, you got to sort yourself out. You can't go to the government and sort your problems out. But as soon as their problems are at the forefront, as soon as they're faced with serious crisis, financial problems, they can go to the government and ask for a bailout, ask for money. Just like the famous story from Oliver Twist when he goes up to Mr. Bumble, I think it is, and asks for more.
I want some more.
These corporations doing the same thing. Hey, Mr. Government, can I have some more money? Bail us out, help us out. And guess what, guys? The most disgusting thing is not so much the bailout, which they got, but the fact that they took the bailout money and they still lay off their workers. For example, I showed you just recently, United Airlines just took a bailout of $5 billion and they still laid off workers. They're laying off about 30% of workers and not paying them as well. I mean, that's basically what's going on right now, guys. As Kyle said, what we've essentially done is we've installed corporate socialism. So socialism for the rich. Not for the poor, not for people who need it. So not for people who are struggling right now, can't afford to pay their bills, not afford to pay their rents. But no, it's okay to do socialism and distribute the wealth to the rich, to the wealthy, who don't need that money, by the way. I mean, guys, it's just really sick and it's terrible, but there it is. All right, guys, let's continue. So as far as the economy is concerned, again, people ask me all the time, Alessio, what do you think about what's going on in the economy? When could this recession maybe end and how bad could it get? The question actually depends on how this whole crisis unfolds in the next few months. Take a look at this chart here, courtesy of Morgan Stanley. Some economists, as you can see here, according to Morgan Stanley, are predicting that the recession probably might end by the third quarter. So in other words, the second half of this year. Now, some of you may be shocked by that. You might think that's crazy, right? Let's show you that chart one more time. So they're predicting there will be a negative growth for the second quarter, which is not surprising. But they're expecting by the third and fourth quarter we'll be back in green, back in a positive. Now, you might say that's being way too optimistic. Maybe so. We don't really know. Actually, it might depend a lot on how quickly people go back to work. For example, if this virus gets really much worse, we don't know that, but of course it's unpredictable. But let's say there's another wave of this thing. Some sources are predicting there might be a second wave of this thing, perhaps in July. All right, for example, in the UK. America might be different, might happen in September. Again, we don't know this. It's all guessing at the moment here. But there are some speculations that a second wave of the virus might happen maybe in July or September. If that's true, that's not good at all, because that means we could be back perhaps where we started a few months back. Now, we don't know if the second wave can be as bad as the first wave. Honestly, nobody knows that. So that's one thing. The second thing we have to take into account is how quickly people go back to work and also how businesses will operate. For example, you may recall in a recent video I posted about airlines, Mentor Pilot, the pilot in that video, said that essentially that it might be difficult for airlines to go back to normal. For example, what about social distancing in these airlines? I mean, that could damage their profits. So that's one thing. Air travel, transportation in general could be seriously impacted. So, I'm looking, for example, at the Dow Transportation Index. Dow Transportation Index is not looking good right now. So the bottom line is there are several things, there are several unknowns that we honestly don't, there's several things we just don't know about the economy right now. How quickly can things go back to normal? And how, when is it going to happen? Will it happen by the third quarter, as some economists are predicting? If the economists from Morgan Stanley are correct, as I showed you in that chart, and if indeed we're going to go back into positive growth in the third or fourth quarter, well, of course, that would be a good thing. That would mean the recession would probably end by the second half of this year. That also might explain the rally in the stock market we've seen so far. Maybe. However, if things don't improve, if the virus crisis continues way into September, October, especially if we have a second wave of this thing, then it might be much more difficult. Then we might not see any positive growth this year until maybe next year. That's kind of the worst case scenario probably. We might not see positive growth until the year 2021. And let's face it, guys, generally economists have got it wrong in the past. I would say rather than paying attention to what economists are saying, instead let's look at the stock market. The stock market is probably the best indicator of what potentially may happen in the near future, and indeed what traders and the smart money is thinking as well. All right, guys, before I finish the video, I'm going to ask you for your opinion. What do you think? Do you think that the economy perhaps will go back to normal by the end of the year, as some economists are projecting? Or do you think actually it might take a lot longer, till next year? And also, what do you think about what we discussed earlier about the issue of corporate socialism? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's fair that while you and most people out there are not getting a bailout, but corporations and Wall Street gets a bailout. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comment section. I look forward to reading your comments. All right, guys, so keep healthy and safe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video update. Cheers, guys. Bye for now.